Soft in the middle, you're not going to be able to manipulate it very well. I think you need much more than that. Oops. And again, just a bit of stretching. Don't need much. And what I tend to do is I get the posterior in line, and I've got to look down onto it, okay? So you've got the lines here, so I want the center of this ridge to be over those lines. So I'm just going to push it a little bit. You want the same, you want the rim and the ridge to be the same shape. So I don't want any pointy ones or big square ones, just nicely rounded. Okay, so have a bit of a look at that. Looking good. Looking good. Looking good. And while it's still this soft, you'll be able to manipulate it for a little while. So if it's not going exactly where you want it to go, you can it's still soft enough to be able to move it around a little bit, okay? Now it's looking quite thin. There's not a lot of excess there, so I'm just going to build it up, okay? With some scrap.
If you make a denture that's like that sits perfectly in your mouth,
Yes.
patients or clients still need to use like dental sticky stuff, toothpaste, like the Polident and stuff like that?
Shouldn't do. However, the shape of the mouth does change over time to a small amount, but the acrylic also changes over time. So the acrylic wears out. So in those cases, yes, they'll need some sort of help. If you have too much wax at this stage, you just get into a horrible mess. So don't put too much wax in here, but I'm keeping the shape of the rim. Stay where you are. So there's just little bits for patching, and then I'm going to again melt them all together and make a beautiful rim. Waiting, 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 waiting. If you have a puddle on one side, don't turn it over because it's going to move. There's a big void in there. It's really very important to make this one big mass of wax because you don't want it falling apart, you don't want it splitting during delivery or when the clinician is using it or when it's in the patient's mouth. You want a good solid piece of wax.
And you're not allowed to actually cut it all.
Sorry?
So you can't cut what's in it? Or that you can't, but...
Well, you can, but I'd prefer it not to. It's not necessary. Look, there are some places you go and work who will say, I don't like the way they taught you to make a red rim. I want you to do it my way. Okay? Every different practitioner, every different laboratory will have their own ways of doing the same thing. But you will never say to a teacher, a lab owner, oh, that's not the way they taught me, so yours is wrong. Okay? Every dental technician you ever meet will have maybe their own ways of doing things. They may be better, they may not be better, but they're better for them, you know? And we all have our ways of producing a product. And the more people you can learn from, the more you will learn. Okay? And it's really, really important to learn these things. I'm only just going to get 18 out of that.
But I think if it's too short, that you have to do...
Ah, that's what I'm going to show you in a minute. And again, I can't do this backwards, so you just have to bear with me. With the lowers, it's a little bit more difficult because they do like to jump off the models all the time. Big void in there. I don't like it. I don't like the shape of that at all. So, what we're going to do is we're going to fix it. So you come to me, you've made this beautiful registration rim and you think it's absolutely gorgeous, and I say, oh, it's a bit narrow in this side, I don't like that very much. You're going to say, oh, you showed me how to fix that. Why don't I fix it now? Okay? So I don't like this, I want this squarer, all right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some wax on the lingual. Just going to make sure that that's exactly in the right place that I want it. So I'm going to take a small piece of wax which I just happen to have here. And I'm going to add a piece on. Okay? And I'm just going to add a piece on in here. I don't want too much. I'm just going to add a piece onto here because I'm just not happy with that shape. I don't want too much, but I'm going to add more than I need so that I can take it off. It's like making a sculpture, you know? Michelangelo started with a huge lump of marble, and look what he got. Look what he got. But I'm no Michelangelo. So I just want to add that piece there. So what I've done is I've made it higher and longer than I need. So now I'm going to take it back to where it should be. Fill in that bit first. And as my model was wet, I'm going to make a little bit of a mess here. Oops. Okay, so I've reshaped that by adding another piece of wax and melting it all together so it's one mass, okay? So I'm just going to fill in that little void there, and then I'm going to put it aside and wait till it cools down. Back to this one. Add the piece there. So now I'm going to shape it around those teeth and around the anterior. Very often when you do a partial like this and you've drawn your line, very often you'll be able to see a faint outline on the wax. You'll be able to see in the palette that there's a good detail of the rugae and the gingiva of those anterior teeth. And again, I'm not going to cut the wax. Hold the wax knife down so it's flowing, the wax is flowing down onto the paper. Jocelyn, what number tooth is this, please? No? Which tooth is it? Yes? No, it's not a 6. It's a 7. Is it right or left? So that makes it number 17, correct. I want you to be able to tell me the name and the number of each tooth that you're working with. Second molar. The 7 is the second molar. First train the brain. By melting the wax, I'm giving it nice rounded borders and peripheries. That's very thick rim there. Fits well. I want the flanges to come straight down from the distal and the mesial of these teeth. I don't want them shaped around, I just want them straight down as per the design. When you have a partial like this, as I said before, the height and the width of the rim depends entirely on the height and the width of the existing dentition. You must make sure that that's all well sealed in. When this goes to the clinic, they will cut these rims according to their needs. But if we give them a decent sized rim to be able to cut, it'll be a wonderful, wonderful thing.
So if it's a little bigger than what the patient needs, is that
Yes,
okay?
yes, yeah, they will be bigger than what the patient needs. But of course, we don't see the client, so we don't see the patient, so we don't know exactly where to make them. All we can really go on is the height and the width of the existing dentition.
So I'm a little bit confused. Will you get something from the dentist like that mould that we made from gypsum?
We will get the impression from the dentist or from the practitioner, whether it be dentist or prosthetist, and we will make the model. Okay. Then we'll make on that model we'll make the tray, and we'll send it back for the secondary impression, which will be more accurate impression. And we'll come back and we'll make the registration rims. Now, this fits quite well. You can see there are a few little shiny areas in the sulcus, nothing to worry about. We're going to trim it the same way as we've trimmed the others. And you can see that I'm working on different things as we go along, because I want the wax to sit for a few minutes to settle. You must relieve the frenal areas. There's no point in trying to take this off the model or anything off the model when it's still warm, because the wax needs to cool down and to set. You will contour around the frena so it's nice and comfortable. You don't want any wax out over the land of the model. So I made that addition. Once you have some experience, it'll take you about 15 to 20 minutes to make the red trim. And you'll make several of them a day in a laboratory. There are some labs who have a person to make trays and rims. That's all they do. Trays and rims.